Greetings, Midtown Community Church. I am here in the sanctuary, a place that you have not been in the past 5 months, a place that we hope that we'll get to come and gather together for worship in the not too distant future. Just as a reminder, we are worshiping Sunday mornings, 9:15, out there on the front lawn. So we'd love for you to join us on the front lawn as we have an outdoor worship service every Sunday. Or otherwise, you can join in virtually on our YouTube channel, where we'll have live stream provided for you then. Hey, I'm really excited for the reason that we are here today, and it's to have the opportunity to introduce you to Duane Davis, who will be coming on staff September 1st as our Director of Discipleship, and then hopefully in October, he will get approval from our presbytery such that he can then become an assistant pastor here at Midtown Community Church. And the reason we're doing this video here right now is to give you, the members of Midtown Community Church, and perhaps some of you who will start becoming part of our church this fall, a chance to get to know Duane. And so I've got about 8 questions that I'm going to ask Duane, and it'll give you guys an opportunity to get to know this man who is coming on staff. So, Duane, here's the first question. All right. Are you married? And do you have any progeny? And you can tell us what the names of your progeny are if you have them.
Sure, yes. So I am married. I'm married to Julie. We've been married for about 20 years, and we have 4 kids. Aiden, who goes by AJ, he's 18. Abby, who's 16, who just got her driver's license recently, which is a big deal. Steven, who's 14, and Jonathan, who's 7.
Great. All right, so have you been a pastor before? And if so, tell us kind of your history of pastoring.
I have, yeah. So I've worked at a number of churches. For a short time in Philadelphia at a church called Liberty. I worked as interim pastor. That was kind of my first pastoral job right out of the gate. And then I was the pastor of a church called Trinity in Asheville, Trinity Presbyterian Church, and worked there for a number of years, and then planted a church here in Raleigh called Renewal. So I have a little bit of experience with that.
You do. All right. So question 3 has an A and a B. Okay. 3A is, who is your favorite musician of all time? And then 3B is, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
Okay, my favorite musician of all time is Bob Dylan, who is the greatest musician of all time.
Okay.
So yeah. That's the correct answer.
All right.
And what was the second one? My favorite TV show of all time is Friday Night Lights.
All right. Good choices. I was not a big fan of Bob Dylan until I met you, and I've started to listen to him, and I've enjoyed it. So
good. I have many disciples, and you can now count yourself as one.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So a little bit more serious, but what do you love about pastoral ministry?
Yeah, I mean, I really like praying with people and for them, and watching people grow and change and learn things about who Jesus is. And so really it's the relationships, but also seeing the Spirit just do things in their lives and getting to be a part of that. You know, sort of, sometimes it's like being, spiritual matchmaker, just figuring out what it is that people need, where they are, how they work. So I'm sort of a student of human nature and an amateur sociologist in a lot of ways. And then sort of attending to listening to God through the Scripture and seeing what He would have for those people in their lives. And I really, that's probably my favorite thing.
All right, I love it. All right, what's something quirky about you that our church needs to be made aware of?
Well, they need to know I'm not as quirky as you are.
Okay. There will be a lot of agreement on that.
So if being a Dylanologist isn't quirky enough, yeah. Julie would say I'm super precise at measurement. Okay. So when it comes to like coffee or making cocktails or anything like that, Julie just sort of throws things together, or if she's cooking, kind of makes it up as she goes. She's a little bit more creative. I feel like I just am entirely insane about making sure that measurements are precise.
Okay.
So like there's a right way and a wrong way, and I kind of stick to the right way when it comes to that. That makes me sound like a jerk, though.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I thought you were going to say something along the lines of the fact that I've never seen you wear shorts.
Okay, I don't do shorts. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's true. So I may be actually way quirkier than you think. I have a lot of
Yeah.
little things like that. Yeah.
But I think Midtown Church would testify to the fact that I'm an incredibly quirky guy. So you're probably right that I've got more quirks than you do.
I wear a tie every day to teach in, which is at this stage in history a little bit of a quirk too.
It's true. And Midtown Church will be the first to tell you that I hate wearing ties. So I take them off incredibly quickly whenever those occasions come when we baptize a child in our church.
Okay.
All right. So between the two of us, we've probably got somewhere around 30 years of pastoral experience.
Yeah.
And I know from my perspective, I've seen a lot of hard things in the context of the church. I remember getting to a point probably 10 years ago when I realized I'd probably experienced more disappointment and frustrations inside the church than I have outside the church at this point in my life. We've talked before. I know you've experienced hard things in the context of pastoral ministry and the church. And so here's the question. Why are you still committed to the local church?
Okay, that's a good question. I feel like the church, okay, so my kind of technical answer is the church is, still God's plan A, if that makes sense. It's not a side thought. It's not something that he's abandoned just because we screw so many things up and so many things go wrong. So I do have hope in his work and the promises that he's made to the church ultimately. The second thing is just getting outside of the church is not going to save us from the mess. You know what I mean? And a lot of times I've learned the most from being in the lowest place. And so I think that I'd always want to kind of take apart the idea that the church is for perfect people or, all the pretty people or for everyone who's got their act together or who can follow all the rules. And honestly, we really, and I don't mean, this may sound trite, but I don't mean it in that way. Like we learn the most at the lowest place, and so you can't fall off the floor. And so I feel like that's the church. The church is ground zero. It's the one place where you can have that perspective and be lifted up and still receive the help that you need as long as you're willing to admit that you need it.
Yeah, no, I've certainly mentioned to people in our church before, that old saying, the church is not a museum for saints, but it is a hospital for sinners. And so whenever you walk into a church and you expect there not to be sick people there, is the equivalent of walking into a hospital and being disappointed when you see that there's people there who are sick and in need of help.
That's right. Yeah, I was thinking of that also. And while you're saying that, I sort of thought, God hasn't given up on the church. It's not outside the realm of what he expected, and so it would be kind of arrogant of me to to then say, no, thanks, I'm done.
I think one of the fundamental shifts in my relationship to the church probably took place 12 years ago, where up until that point, I had loved the church because I thought she loved me really well. And I eventually realized that in order for me to stay in the church, I had to get to a point where I was willing to love the church simply because Jesus loved her. And when I got to that place, my relationship with the church grew in a lot more healthy path than it would have otherwise. Okay, so food is really important. Like, it's really important in the Gospels. Jesus had the reputation, right, of being the guy who came eating and drinking. Some of my favorite stories in the Gospel accounts came in the context of food. So I don't think it is an unspiritual question for me to ask, what is your favorite restaurant in Raleigh?
Okay, can I have more than one?
We'll give you 3.
Okay, so here I'm gonna throw out a few.
Okay.
You can cut me off, but if I'm just going out to lunch, my favorite places would be, and it's not in sort of a COVID era where everything's shut down. Beasley's, I love.
Okay.
Mommy Nora's, I love, and Niamond.
Those are great choices.
So those would be my sort of lunch. If I want to go somewhere fancy, like when I think the best meal I've ever had in Raleigh was at Garland.
Never been there.
It's like Asian fusion. It's down on Martin Street, and it's really good. I like Pools and I like Bitamonda, those two places also, but I think Garland was probably my favorite.
All right, I've got a new restaurant to try.
Okay, cool. And I do, yeah, so I like food too.
All right, so final question.
Okay.
And then we'll be done. And the question is this. If we're sitting down here 3 years from now, looking back over your last 3 years of being a part of Midtown Community Church as a pastor, what would happen at Midtown Church that would make you really happy to have been a part of our church community?
Yeah, I mean, my honest answer to that question is that I would have developed strong relationships that are built on the foundation of the gospel and on the person of Jesus. And so I don't have a ton of projections for how many churches we would have planted or growth measurement or anything along those lines. It would really be that I found a place where I enjoyed serving and working and praying with and for the people, and that almost like in is it Acts 20, where Paul leaves and he's leaving the Ephesian elders, and it's sad. It's a sad moment because of how close they had become to the people they were working alongside with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good vision.
Okay, that's it.
All right, we'll take it. I think we're done. So this is Duane Davis. We're glad to have him, and we look forward to you getting to meet him sometime this fall.